Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Happy New Year. It's January 5th, 2023, and what a year 2022 has been. I am so over 2022 and I'm ready for the new year. Those of you who've messaged me asking if I'm okay, thank you so much. I'm still standing. We're still standing. It's been a hell of a year, good and bad. But at the end of the day, we're okay. But let me just go over all the stuff, sort of life update, and why I haven't been on YouTube for 2.5 months. Before that, I was making a concerted effort to put a video, at least one video out every week, and I thought I was doing pretty well until middle of October. Or was it middle of September? I don't even know anymore. By the way, if you're new to my channel, welcome. I do usually videos on luxury goods, travel, and anything that I'm interested in at the moment. And so if you're interested in lifestyle content, I would love it if you would consider subscribing and clicking the bell notification. Now that out of the way, I'm going to link, like I said, a video that I did at the beginning of 22. It was like a luxury wish list. And I want to say a couple of those have come true. One of which is I got the mini reissue and I got the Chanel mini with handle, which I don't wear as much. I do wear a Chanel reissue mini. If you'd like a comparison of those two bags, now that I've had it for a while, let me know and I'll be happy to do it. That said, I have not been very much into luxury goods of late. There's too many things happening, too many things that's happened in my life to think about that. I mean, it is. I do think about it a little bit because it is sort of like a escapism in a way. But let me just go over some of the things that happened that's been wonderful. My son, my son got married to a lovely young lady, and they met in grad school. And if you follow me on my Instagram, you've seen their graduation. They had a virtual graduation when they graduated in 2021. So in 2022, they were able to have in-person graduation for both my daughter-in-law and my son. They got married this year. They had a small ceremony where we live, where my family, my immediate family, could attend. And it was literally like 10 people in a small room with a friend of mine who's a judge. It was so lovely. And then they had a bigger wedding where they invited their friends right after their in-person graduation. So we went from, you would see our graduation photos that I posted on my Instagram. We went from southeast where we live, to Boston where they graduated, and from Boston to Seattle where they got married. And then during the marriage, like the week, we got there like at the beginning of the week, and the wedding was at the end of the week, and I got COVID. So it was it was all of a sudden we were sharing rooms at a nice hotel, and all of a sudden everybody needed different rooms. And I was fever free when the wedding actually happened, but I couldn't participate in any of the wedding ceremony stuff, and I literally took a separate vehicle, double masked, and drove there, took off the mask to walk down the aisle. It was an outdoor wedding, thank goodness. And during the reception, I stayed outside where, everybody else was inside. So, because I didn't want to infect anybody. And I came home earlier. But at least I got to wear my, mother of the groom dress and walk down the aisle. There's small number of pictures of me, but I couldn't, but we had the other wedding too. So it was all okay, and they're very happy. I love my daughter-in-law. My son is extremely happy, and at the end of the day, that's what you want for your child, is for them to find somebody that they love, and that's just going to be nice to them, and they're nice to each other. So I couldn't be happier. So wonderful things. My sister, me, and Mike. Look at, I'm getting kind of teary-eyed talking about my son and his wife. My daughter got into a business school for her master's program, and as a congratulation and do another trip. We wanted to do another trip with me, my sister, and my daughter. We've done that once before when she graduated from college several years ago. So we had planned to go to Paris and go shopping and all that stuff. But my sister's dog got cancer. So we had to postpone our trip. And we were hoping to go in the fall, but we could tell, my sister and I could tell that my father was getting weaker and weaker. And we wanted to take my parents to visit my brother. So we did that instead of going to Paris. So we postponed our trip twice now. And now I don't think I can go because if we go with my if I go with my sister somewhere, that means there's nobody near my parents. Even for a week, even for a couple days, we always feel like there needs to be somebody near them. So we're probably not going to do that for like a while. That said, the trip to Florida, and again, if you follow me on Instagram, you would have seen my parents being so happy. We got this house right at the river. I forget the name of the river, but it's one of the two rivers in the world that flows the opposite way from south to north or something like that. And we saw alligators. So every morning, my mom, once we saw an alligator in the river, every morning she's out there, through the window trying to see if she could see an alligator. We had a beautiful view of the river. It was wonderful seeing my brother. And then on the way up, I can see that my father was getting worse and has been progressively getting worse, and he may need a procedure done. His heart, he has a severe congestive heart failure. He has pacemaker for the second time. He has 3-lead pacemaker. He's had quadruple bypass. He has a stent done. And the other thing is that they live only like a mile away, but I can tell that my mom is having harder and harder time because she's always worried about my father and whether it's too long to go into. But as I saw my father deteriorate, health going down, and I think I mentioned this on my wish list that I wanted to buy a house that was single floor or where I could have my parents or my in-laws to live with us as they grow older. And we found a house. But before we found a house, so right around that time, my father-in-law passed away. So he passed away on October 31st. He had been suffering with end-stage Alzheimer's. And it's been pretty severe symptom-wise in the last 8 months. And we have been in constant communication with my mother-in-law. And they live on the other side of the United States. And we live in East Coast. She lives in West Coast. And so uh, it's been a very tough road for our family, and it's been very difficult for my father-in-law to go through that because he was a brilliant man, and a very kind man, and we were losing. He was no longer, able to communicate like he used to. He just wasn't himself. Those of you who have family members who are going through Alzheimer's, you would know it's a very difficult thing for the family. We were able to have him home with 24/7 around the clock care. Initially, my mother-in-law tried to do some of that herself, and but we were able to. It was in stages, and it was very difficult. But eventually, we were able to get 24/7 care. Um, but you just as you're going through it, you don't think that it's going to happen. You kind of it was a hard time. So we learned suddenly that he passed. So we went out, and right around that time, I found the house that I thought would be perfect for my husband and me as we grow older, because now we're in our sixth decade pretty soon, and my parents are in their 80s. My mother-in-law and my father-in-law at the time, it was late 80s, early 90s. So anyway, we found a house that's pretty close to where I'm currently living, still very close to my parents' current house, but we're gonna close on the house pretty soon. We're gonna put an elevator so that my parents or my mother-in-law can come and stay with us if they want. I think my mom is looking forward to that, and it will be huge load off of her mind not to have to constantly worry about my father by herself at middle of the night. So I'll be right upstairs. It has the house is beautiful. I take her everywhere, especially as I was looking at homes to purchase, because I wanted her to be part of the process. So even though she has a very difficult time getting around, and my father has a difficult time getting around and walking around, I always ask them if they wanted to come and be part of the process and ask them questions and include them in the decision making process, even though the ultimate decision is my husband's and my decision. So yeah, so when she saw this house, after looking at so many houses, she fell in love with the backyard. It has a beautiful backyard, like an English garden kind of a feel. They've had 3 weddings there because it's so beautiful. It has a finished basement with a walkout into the garden, and it has a bedroom and a full kitchen in the basement, as well as a beautiful kitchen. I don't know, my daughter was excited about this kitchen because she loves to cook, but I don't cook, but maybe I'll take it up now. Um, but it didn't have an elevator. And that's something that we wanted to make sure that we put one in. So when we close on the house, we found a contractor who's done this before where they retrofit an elevator into a house. And we're gonna put a new bathroom in, walk-in shower without a curb. So it'll be easy for my mom and my dad. There's a bedroom upstairs with a sitting room, which if my mother-in-law wanted to come and stay with us, she has a comfortable place to stay. So instead of downsizing, now that my kids are older and they all live very far from us, we've decided to upsize because people have told us that don't downsize. If your kids live far away, when they come, you want to have plenty of room for your kids to, and possibly grandkids, it's if they decide to have children, to stay. So we actually got a much bigger house with more room for my parents, my husband's mom, and my kids if they come and visit. So the other thing that happened is that my husband went through 2 surgeries. He went through a bunion surgery. This is his second bunion surgery. He had one done about 10 years ago on one foot. He had the other one done middle of summer, and this time they use a new technique. So the recovery time was much less, but it was still, I think my husband started to do exercise too quickly and he kind of hurt himself and whatever. He's all okay. And then he had a cholecystectomy, another surgery. There was a time period when we were worried that he might have cancer because I don't know what happened, but his liver function started to elevate. But thank goodness it was because he had probably, obstruction in his bile duct. We didn't know that he needed cholecystectomy. So we got that done. So 2 surgeries of my husband. Let's see, what else happened? I forgot one more thing that happened. During Christmas holidays, we went to visit my mother-in-law because she's low now. And we wanted to help clean up the house and all that stuff. And so we've been doing a lot of work around the house. And that one time that my husband and the kids went to play, relax, and go to the park and play pickleball. I don't know if you know what pickleball is. It's all the rage now in the US. By the way, according to one of my friends, she read somewhere that the most number of injuries happen playing pickleball. So those of you who play, be careful, because my husband fell while playing pickleball, like beginning of our trip to my mother-in-law's house. Anyway, he fell so hard that he slid kind of like a baseball player slides, but in concrete because it's pickleball is played in tennis court, and he hit his chin. He this was Christmas Eve. He split his chin, and he broke his jaw. And it had hairline fractures. Luckily, he did not dislocate his jaw, which is a blessing. Otherwise, he would have needed surgery. But he needed stitches. We had to be in the ER. But luckily, we were told that he could be on soft food. So thank God. So many health issues this past year. Oh, more health issue. I had some issues with my left knee where I couldn't bend and I was having pain. I still have it. I went through some physical therapy. I'm not done with it. And they're not sure why, but I have some fluids around my knees. So I don't know why I'm having it. The other thing I found out recently, and I'm still going through diagnosis, but I have severe degenerative disc disease, where your spinal cords, the bones are like this far apart in your lower back, and mine is like this far apart. And so the cushion is not much, and I have a splint. What's it called? Splinter? I can't remember the name. So many things. And so, and I've had backaches all my life for past several decades, but I've been like ignoring it. And sometimes it's been so bad that I have to lay down for like a week, and then it get better. I'd use TENS unit, those little electric shock, kind of a stimulation kind of a thing that you stick on your back. And that seems to help. But my husband has been telling me to go see the spinal surgeon for the longest time. And finally, I just said, I'm just going to, shut him up and go. And I'm sure there's nothing. Well, it wasn't nothing. And I'm going to get an MRI. And oh my gosh, too much information. You asked, so I'm telling you. Um, I so it We will find out more information about what to do about that, but it's a good thing that I'm gonna move into a house with a master on the first floor. That's it. That's all that's been happening. I'm not quite sure which direction I'm gonna take my channel. My kids said that I should talk about raising children, um, because that was my original intent in starting my channel in the very first place, but I couldn't figure out how to videotape or what to say. So uh, I ended up doing luxury bags, because I thought that might be helpful for people as I was slowly getting into that, um, after my kids all left school. But my kids have recommended that I talk about child rearing, or how do you raise, you know, kids, in terms of not like what to feed them, because God knows, but my philosophy in imparting what's important, what's not important, the values, and how do you impart good work ethics, good, I don't know, if it's, I'm not sure that I'm qualified to do so, other than having raised a couple kids that seem to be doing okay, but so do a lot of other people, right? But maybe, I don't know. So I'm just tossing around in my head with some of the ideas of where I want to take my channel. Maybe it's on renovation. Maybe it's on house decoration. I don't know. I've also tossed with not being on YouTube at all. But then I love the camaraderie and interactions I've had with many of my subscribers. I really enjoy the conversations we've been having. I know it's not real life kind of friends, but I feel like, it's my YouTube friends. So I don't know. So if you have any suggestions, I'm open to it. I don't know how many times I can talk about bags. My interests are changing as my life changes. Uh, that said, I still love beautiful bags. I still love beautiful jewelry. So anyway, it's already almost over 20 minutes. So I'm going to end it here. Thank you so much for sticking with me. I hope you continue to subscribe to my channel. I'm not quite sure which direction, but I will still continue to put some content regarding bags and jewelry and comparisons. I will maybe do some vlogs as I am going through, our home renovation. Anyway, that's it. If you are still with me, thank you. If you haven't subscribed, I'd love it if you consider subscribing and clicking the bell notification so that you would be notified every time I upload more videos. Thanks guys, and Happy New Year. Bye.